today we will continue. We started yesterday. Yesterday was inauguration. So I gave you a preview also. So I'm sure that somebody is going to review what we covered yesterday, and then we'll pick up from first shower onwards. Haribo. Sharatpuri, is somebody going to review that?
I can give a list of what was covered yesterday.
Yeah, I just gave you a preview yesterday, a very short preview.
Yes. Hare Krishna, all the devotees. Yesterday we had the inaugural sessions of Madhurya Kadambini, the cloud bank of nectar. This is being conducted in 24 sessions. In the beginning, we are told about the brief biography of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, his appearance and disappearance. Exactly, the dates are not exactly known, but it is known that he was initiated in the line of Narottam Das Thakura, and even when he was a student only, he had conquered, he had defeated many scholars on Vedic the literature, and he got married at a very early stage, but he finally renounced his family life and he came to Vrindavana, and he was staying in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's Bhajan Kutira at Radhakunda. He was a prolific writer and he has got many books to his credit. And in the outline preview, we saw that there are 8 parts of this Madhurya Kadambini in which this will be covered. In lesson 1 we had yesterday, and in 2 and 3 we'll see the excellence of bhakti. 4 and 5 we'll see from Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha to Bhajan Kriya and the various subdivisions. In 6 to 7 we'll see Anartha Nivritti. Then in lesson 8 we'll see Nishtha, nectar begins to follow. Then Ruchi, then Asakti, then Bhava, then Prema. Now these 8 stars, they are very important, and we should go through them. In the very first beginning, that is from today onwards, lesson 2 onwards, we'll be told about the super excellence of bhakti. That is, Krishna is the absolute truth, and bhakti causes bhakti. There is no reason for bhakti. Bhakti has no other reason other than bhakti. And bhakti is independent of jnana, karma, and ashtanga yoga. This is very important, and Rupa Goswami has also stressed this very amply in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Then from Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha, we'll see we'll learn about the 5 types of kleshas, from material life to faith, which are of 2 types that we'll see, and the steady and unsteady devotional service that we'll know in detail. Then in under Anartha Nivritti, or mitigation of inauspicious elements which come on our way, we'll see how there are 4 types of anarthas and how they can be rectified. Then in Nishtha, or the nectar begins to follow at the stage of Nishtha, we'll see the 5 obstacles to Nishtha. And under Ruchi, we'll see the attainment of taste, that is the 2 types of dependent and independent material circumstances that we'll see. Then under Asakti, we'll see how the heart becomes enchanted, and the behavior that we'll see in Asakti. In Bhava, or flowing of the supreme bliss in the heart of the devotee, we'll see how there are 5 types, and how it can arise from Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and raga bhakti also. And finally, prema, fulfillment of the heart's desire. We'll see the sequence of appearance of prema, how it appears in the heart, then the higher divisions of prema, then Krishna, how he is indebted to the prema bhaktas. He is under the prema bhaktas, am bhakta paradhina, he says. And Krishna then finally would reveal himself to the devotees. And various showers we saw in very great detail, and the tentative schedule was given. And with this, I finished the preview to Madhurya Kadambini. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Sharad Prabhuji. Very nice summary. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. Oh, Shri Prabhupada. So one great highlight about this book by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he names it as Madhurya Kadambini. Kadambini really means the great surging of the clouds, of monsoon clouds, filled with rain that begins right at the end of summer. You know, the scorching heat of summer really, you know, is very, very scorching, very troublesome for the mass of people, you know. So how when first rain arrives, how people really become very, very happy, you know, the torrential rain. But before even the rain starts, the cool wind blows that really, you know, quiets all the pain, scorching heat that we experience in the summer, you know. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is really appealing to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, actually, you know, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually Krishna himself in the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani. Unlike Krishna, here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came as in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he distributes this love of Krishna, the Madhurya rasa actually, that only Vrindavan Krishna possesses actually, you know, and that there are four kinds of Madhurya rasa. Krishna is the Akhila Rasa Murti. He is the embodiment of all the rasas, you know, and we all know, of course, Srila Rupa Goswami is the Rasacharya. He is the teacher of all the rasas, you know. So, as I told you, only Vrindavan Krishna has this sweetness. So there are four kinds, only Vrindavan Krishna possesses that. Rupa Madhurya, Venu Madhurya, Lila Madhurya, and so on like that. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is praying to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, like I told you, that he distributes this rasas, the four rasas, without any kind of discrimination to all those, without worrying whether they have necessary qualifications or not, you know, because Krishna looks for that. Radharani doesn't look for that. So that is what Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is praying. So he calls, for Krishna it is the Madhurya Kadambini, but here for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he calls it Maha Madhurya Kadambini, you know, great. So now, so he, instead of the chapters, these 8 chapters, he calls it 8 showers, you know, of Madhurya, the sweet nectar. The sweet nectar is these 4 kinds of Madhurya rasa. That is what we need to pay attention, you know. So as Sharad Prabhu just summarized, there are 8 showers. And the first shower that will begin today onwards, it begins, so there are chapters, lessons 2 through 7, 6, lessons are there. The first lesson is about this particular Mangalacarana verse to invoke this auspiciousness when he begins narrating his book. Okay, so in there, all this lesson 2:7, the first shower is all about the preeminence of bhakti. Bhakti is the supreme that he's going to prove it to us. So before he gets into it, he prays to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so there are two Mangalacharan verses that we will discuss. All right. So in this slide, that's what you see, all the overview of all the 8 showers, and the yellow box that highlights the first shower that we'll be discussing in lessons 2 through 7. Number 1, of course, that was yesterday, inauguration. So here I'm showing you each of these lessons number 2 through 7. What are its main topics? Lesson 2, that is today's lesson, that we will describe, we will show you about these 2 Mangalacharan verses. The understanding of that is very, very important. So wonderful verses Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has composed, the 2 verses that we'll talk about. Text 1, 2, and it is in the book, pages 3 to 27. The lesson 3 and 4 that we'll do next weekend. Lesson 3, the title of that is Bhakti Devi is self-manifesting. It doesn't need any prior knowledge or anything like that. No jnana, vairagya, nothing is required. Just bhakti itself, and it's self-manifesting. That is already there within us. It needs to be reawakened. That's all. In lesson 4, how Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came himself as his own devotee, see, Bhagavan's mercy flows mostly through his devotees. Sometimes he himself gives, but very rare cases. Mostly interest, he relies on his devotees to transmit his mercy towards the devotees. That we will see. Then lesson 5, the futility of any practice that is devoid of bhakti, that just doesn't work. So if you just say jnana and vairagya, you begin with that. If it is devoid of bhakti, then it doesn't go very far. Lesson 6, the superiority of bhakti over moksha, because many jnanis particularly, their aim, their goal is limited to attaining moksha of freedom from the sufferings of material existence. That's all they care. But here, the devotees' goal goes much, much beyond that. In fact, the happiness that one derives in attaining this liberation from material existence is nothing compared, no comparison at all to the happiness one feels about getting a prema of that bhakti, prema bhakti. Okay, and it is the, in fact, if you talk about jnana, jnana is nourished by bhakti itself, not the other way around. Lesson 7, bhakti begets bhakti. So you can see throughout all these lessons 2, 3, 7, you can see that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is proving to us that bhakti is the supreme. It does not depend anything else at all. Rather, everything else, all other means of self-realization they depend on first attaining bhakti. So bhakti begets bhakti. That's the theme of all these lessons 2 through 7. Okay. So that is lesson 2 that will begin today. The this 2 Mangalacarana verses. Okay. So before I begin that, I think it's a good idea how this particular analogy that Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur uses, that what happens that when there's a summer heat, so that's what you see here, that in this picture I show you, the summer heat, extreme suffering is there, scorching heat is there, and then the clouds gather in the sky, the monsoon clouds, very dense cloud gathers in the sky. Then this torrential rain pours, as you can see that the rivers overflowing with both the banks that you see, and then rushing towards the ocean that you can see in the bottom left. However, in the desert, they hardly ever this monsoon cloud touches, very few drops, that's all gets there. So that the trees are just almost dead like that, you know. So here we will see all these things are compared, what Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is talking about the devotees. So here is the particular Mangalacharan verse. Ridha Vapre, Ridha means heart. Ridha Vapre, that is the field of heart. So what Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is saying, that you're planting the seed of Nava Bhakti, this Navada Bhakti, beginning with hearing, you know, sorry, self hearing, chanting, and remembering all the Navada Bhakti, okay? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, all that ninefold devotional service, which is the most powerful way of pleasing the Lord. So he says the seed of this Navada Bhakti is planted in the field of the heart, okay? And we will see how heart is the receptacle, fertile ground, heart which is stoic because of all this mental speculation and all these things. And if you just rely on intelligence, then that's not a fertile ground. You need the ground which is fertile and that will germinate the seed of bhakti. Okay, so Hridaya Vapre, in the field of heart, Nava Bhakti Shashya Vitate Sanjivani. So that gives the life. Sanjivani means that gives the life to the seed. That means it germinates the seed in the fertile field of heart. Sanjivani, Swagama Arambe. So there are actually 4 components in this Madhurya Kadambini, this particular verse, Mangalacharan verse, that are very, very important. Okay, and we will go through these 4 important elements of it. But first, let's read the verse itself, the full verse. Hridaya Vapre Nava Bhakti Sashya Vitate Sanjivani Swagama Arambe, that begins right there. Kamad Paratta Uddaha Damani Vishwapaga Ullasini Duran me Maru Shakino Duran means in the distant. He's comparing himself to this particular picture that you see here. In the desert, he's honed himself. He's drying up. He's longing for his survival. on this Madhurya Rasa, so where the monsoon cloud barely touches there, So he's comparing, he's in extreme Dainya Bhava. He's comparing himself that he's not even qualified. In fact, he appeared many, many years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. So he considered very unfortunate. So he's praying that for that, that maybe a drop of that rasa, if he can get for him, he'll be more than happy. Okay. Vishwa Ullasini, Duran me Maru Shakino. Maru means in the desert. Shaka means the limbs are drying up, all the branches and so on like that. Shakino api sarasi bhavaya bhuyat prabhu. Sri Chaitanya Kripa, so he's praying to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his mercy, Krupa Nira Ankusha, without any kind of restrictions, discrimination. He considered himself not qualified, and yet because of Mahaprabhu's mercy, without his qualifications, even though he's disqualified, nonetheless Mahaprabhu is going to be very merciful to him. That's what I'm saying. And then he will shower the rainwater, but in the form of the sweet nectar. Madhurya Kadambini. Even Madhurya Kadambini is Krishna's cloud shower of the sweet nectar, is 4 kinds of Madhurya Rasa, right? But here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributing without any kind of discrimination. So he terms it as Maha, great, incredible, great. Maha Madhurya Kadambini. Okay, so here let's read the whole verse, and then we'll go the analysis of the entire verse, and then we'll go through the second this Mangalacarana verse also, where he appeals to Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami is very, very dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered him to really give a scriptural foundation to his philosophy, Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, about this. So that we'll see in the second verse. But right now we are focusing on the first verse. So the full translation. So there are 4 important elements in this verse. Okay, the mercy of Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like it's coming. Excuse me, is coming like in torrential rain of the sweet nectar of Shri Krishna coming through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is like a torrential rain in the heart of the devotee. The shower of his mercy fully bestows the vitality, the sanjivani, that means the living symptoms, the seed is germinating of this Navada Bhakti, okay? Vitality upon the crops of this Navada Bhakti. So the seed of Navada Bhakti is planted in the heart. Heart is like a fertile ground, okay? The heart must be prepared for that before planting. So that have been freshly sown in the field of the devotee's heart. Okay, so that is the first line of that. Even the first appearance of the cloud bank of the Mahaprabhu's mercy dispels the virulent burning sensation. So remember that I told you that this picture that I showed you, when the first torrential rain comes in the summer, after the summer heat, scorching heat, the ground is really dry now, all the living entities are suffering so much. But before that, before the cloud actually pours the rain, you all know that first cool wind breeze blows that, okay? And that begins to really dissipate the heat, and the cool wind really soothes the heart of everyone. So that's what he's talking about. Even the first appearance of the cloud bank of Mahaprabhu's mercy that dispels the virulent burning sensation. And how does he compare this burning sensation, scorching heat? Is because the heart is at that time, before this Navada Bhakti takes root, the seed germinates, the heart before that is full of this material desires, selfish desires for one's self-enjoyment. That has to be removed. That is, the heat is scorching our body in the heart because of this material desires, So that cool wind soothes that. Right before the rain actually comes, it begins to influence this life-giving source to the heart and makes jubilation. Just like, remember, that before the rain starts, the cool wind blowing, and everybody knows that at any moment, any minute, the torrential rain is going to fall, and in the forest, the peacocks start dancing in full color, So that jubilation all over swell within the heart of all devotees throughout the universe. And then the actual torrential rain begins to fall, okay? And the river starts swelling up and start flowing with great swift current toward the ocean. While it's going through that swift current that I showed in the picture itself, toward the ocean of what? The Madhurya Rasa itself, and flowing, and both the banks, on both the banks, everything is going through that torrential rain, the fast flowing river of this nectar. It makes jubilation swell within the heart of all devotees throughout the universe, like rivers swelling from the rainfall. May that unstrained nira ankusha. Ankusha means some power, stopping that impeding power. But now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not, he removes everything, all regulations, qualification, nothing like that. He doesn't see that. Whether you're qualified or not, he will give you this prema rasa, So that's what he's talking about. Nira ankusha, unlimited, powerful cloud, a bank of Mahaprabhu's sweet mercy, the influence of which is felt even for a far great distance, even the desert. The rain is falling in the town, but in the desert, few drops comes there, okay? But that few drops is enough to grow the plant there. Even in this desert, for a brief session, some plants germinate actually there. So he considered himself in that desert, Maru, and the branches start greening, green color develops, the life symptoms coming into it. So he considered himself that about to die, that plant himself. So unfortunate, so unlucky, but he's praying, and Mahaprabhu is throwing a few drops his way from a great distance. Duran, fill me, a dry, lifeless tree in the desert with life-giving rasa. So it's apparently dead tree looks like, but there is a life, it is still there. And that drops of, even the few drops comes by, it begins to bring the life into that dead tree. That is himself. Chaitanya Prabhu said, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur himself compared to that. So now we'll go through these four important elements. Okay. First, this the field of heart itself, how it needs to be prepared to become a fertile ground, and that brings the life, Sanjivani. And then the second element is the Swagama Arambhe, that begins that. Let's go through that. So this is the heart, the field, okay, that I'm showing you here as a symbolic. So the mercy of Mahaprabhu, okay, this whole first Mangalacarana verse, he's praying to the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, okay, for his mercy in coming in the form of this cloud, the showering, torrential rain. Rain of what? The sweet rasas from Krishna. So Vraja Lila is for Madhurya rasa coming through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's giving the Krishna Madhurya rasa to the people who are suffering. So the author describes here Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy as the Maha Madhurya Kadambini. Krishna's rasa is Madhurya Kadambini. But Krishna discriminates whether we have a necessary qualifications or not. But Radharani, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the form of mood of Radharani, she does not see that at all. All she sees her compassion, full of draving heart, that she sees is the living entities are suffering. They need before they die out, So that's what is called Maha Madhurya Kadambini, which causes the life energy to flow through the crop like Navada Bhakti, ninefold devotional service. So Hriday Vapre, there's the field of heart, which is the birthplace of bhakti. As long as there are selfish sensual desires to enjoy, then that Navada Bhakti seed cannot germinate, because then the field of the heart is not fertile enough. So it needs to be tilled. The ground, just as before we plant, the ground needs to be tilled, right? Khudai karni padti hai. And फिर you put a fertilizer, proper fertilizer and everything. Then you put a seed, right? So here also like that, it needs to be prepared. So as long as there are selfish sensual desires to enjoy, continuously broiling the person, that's why we are suffering because of that. In the intense fire of passion, where there is a possibility of the extremely soft and delicate disposition to engage in devotional service awakening. So obviously this Navada Bhakti cannot take root. The seed cannot germinate in that kind of heart. So one must give up that, that mental speculation and philosophy and all these things. And we'll go in much greater detail in the mind map that I'll show you in a few minutes. So the first influence is the Hriday Vapre, the field of heart. Navada Bhakti, Nava Bhakti Rasa Satya Vitateha Sanjivani. So that's all the translation I just gave you. Or the rain cloud of Mahaprabhu's mercy thoroughly bestow life-giving energy, Sanjivani, okay, upon the new sprout of bhakti. The seed germinates, the first two leaves comes out, and I showed you the tree, right? The bhakti vriksha. We will go in great detail right from the field itself, growing, the seeds coming, the birds, flower buds are developing, and then the flower blossoming, and then ultimately the fruit of the bhakti, which is the prema, We'll go one by one, all these different stages, sadhu sangha and all that kind, So the third point, here Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the second mighty influence. When I told you the 5 elements of this Madhurya Kadambini verse and this particular Mangalacarana verse, the second mighty influence of the cloud bank of intense sweetness, Maha Madhurya Kadambini, which is the embodiment of Mahaprabhu's mercy, and that is Swagama Arambe, Kama Tapartu Daha Damani. Daha means burning, and now it's soothing that burning, that's the third element, So here, continuing, the fourth point. So when a row of rain clouds fills the sky, monsoon, even before the torrential rainfall begins, the first drops falling on the ground, as I told you, the cool breezes blow, right? So the scorching heat, the temperature coming down to a very nice soothing effect. The heat is going down now. So the torrential rain, before the rainfall actually starts, the cool breezes, a pleasant cooling breeze begins to blow. Simply by that, the fierce heat of summer is easily dissipated. That is the second, that part of it, that I just told you about, the Daha Damani. You'll see in the mind map all these four elements that I picked it up from this verse. Then there is the third mighty influence of the cloud bank of Mahaprabhu's mercy. Vishwa Pago Ullasini. Great joy, Ullasa. During the torrential rainfall, the rivers become swollen with swift current, which submerge. So the whole the dense cloud is falling torrentially. The sweet rasa, Madhurya rasa, is drenching the heart. Okay, the river becomes swollen with swift currents, which submerge both their banks, overflowing the bank with flooding waters, and rush forth with tremendous power, force, swift current to meet the ocean. An ocean of what? The fourfold Madhurya rasa that I told you about, Vrindavan Krishna, right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is bringing that, and what are the four? Rupa Madhurya or Lila Madhurya, Prema Madhurya, Venu Madhurya, and Rupa Madhurya. So there's four, which is only there in Vrindavan Krishna, nowhere else. None of his expansions, even Krishna himself, when you go to Mathura and Dwarka, those four Madhurya sweetness is no more there. Then there is Aishwarya Bhav is taking place. The sixth point, the author now, the final point, important element of this Mangalacarana verse. Now, here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, what we see here is extreme Dainya Bhav. Really, he's considered himself totally totally unqualified, and yet he's begging for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. So he says he's like situated in a Duran, distant away, in a desert, and he's about to die. That plant is there, is almost dead, very just as lingering living symptoms still there, That's where the few drops, when reaches, he said he'll be more than fortunate, more than lucky. So that's why he's saying, Dainya Bhav, in utter humility, at the end of this invocation verse, is praying for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy. Duran me maru, maru means desert. Shakha means branches, drying up the branches. Api, in spite of that, sarasi bhavaya bhuyad, because of this particular bhava, the sweet rasa, that is, he's going to survive on that only, And maybe cloud bank of great sweetness, Maha Madhurya Kadambini, even from far away, make my heart. Just a few drops at all reaches me. There's more than enough to bring the life symptoms within my almost dead body, which is like a dry tree in an arid desert. Arid means without any moisture. Flow with this rasa. See how beautifully he poetically expresses this. I really love it. Okay, so now the next verse continues actually. The last three parts, 7, 8, 9. During heavy clouds blanket the earth and the torrential rainfall swell the rivers in the desert. However, this kind of rainfall does not occur only a tiny vestige of cloud barely drizzles once in a while, and even then in distance. That's himself that I just told you about, the Duran Marusaka. Due to mood of utter lowliness, he himself feels that so low, unqualified. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur thought of himself as a dry, withered tree in the desert soil, very far, Duran, from the unrestrained and unlimitedly Nira Ankusha, without discrimination. Mahaprabhu is distributing that, the pure Madhurya Rasa, powerful cloud bank of Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy. Hence, his prayer, Duran me Maru Shaki no. Api, in spite of that, I'm almost about to die, drying up, Sarasi Bhavaya, with great bhava emotions, will say, Bhuviyat Prabhu, hey Mahaprabhu, please be merciful to me. Chaitanya, Kripa, mercy, Nira Ankusha, without any kind of discrimination, Mahamadhurya Kadambini. Or even though you are situated a great distance away, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, actually, the great distance, what he says, because he came when Mahaprabhu had already been left. He considered himself so unfortunate that he was not there at the time Mahaprabhu was there on this planet, So he appeared many, many years after Mahaprabhu had already disappeared from this planet. I'm a very dry-hearted, dull-headed, and extremely worthless soul. Look at that, is the Dainya Bhav, extreme Dainya Bhav. Still, I beg you to infuse this weak, withered soul with Bhakti Rasa, and please saturate me. Give me that Bhakti Rasa, Navada Bhakti Rasa. Okay, so now we take a short break. Haribo. So right after the break, what I just discussed you these four important elements of this first Mangalacharan verse that I'll show you in a mind map, so that you will remember that. I'm sorry, I got disconnected. No, Prabhuji, can you see my screen now? Haribol?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, we can see your Prabhuji.
Okay. So the 5 minutes is over, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Because I got disconnected, so I had to reconnect everything again. Okay, so this is the mind map of what I just told you about. So we'll this is the way once again we will go these core important elements of this particular Mangalacharan verse. So again, the Mangalacharan verse is shown in the yellow. Hridi Vapre Nava Bhakti Sashya Vitate Sanjivani Swagama Arambhe Kama Tapattu Dahadamani Vishwapago Ullasini Duranish Marushakino Api Sarasi Bhavaya Bhuyat Prabhu Sri Chaitanya Kripa Nira Ankusha Mahamadhurya Kadambini. Okay, so now as you can see, the first element is this Vriddhi Vapre, this particular field of heart in which we are trying to sow the seed of Navada Bhakti. Okay, Sasya Vitate hai Sanjivani, and how if the heart is fertile enough, devoid of all kind of selfish material desires, this heart is softened enough, the ground is softened enough so the seed can germinate. When the first drops of Madhurya Rasa falls in it, the Navada Bhakti seed germinates. Okay, so it infuses life, Sanjivani, in the grain of ninefold Bhakti within the field of the heart. So what I'm going to do, instead of showing the whole slide, I'm going to zoom in that part of it. Okay, so that part, zooming it in. Let me show you the full slide. So now all of you can see that, right? Correct, everybody?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can see.
So focus on the upper part, the heart, the field of the heart. Why heart is the field for growing, planting the seed of Navada Bhakti? Because the heart is the most appropriate receptacle. What is receptacle? That which receives it, for the manifestation of bhakti. Only heart is the particularly fertile ground. The heart is sometimes also called chitta. Chitta is where all desires appear. Only all the desires appear in the heart only, and they merge. Appear and merge all different kinds of desires, selfish and not too selfish. And we want the desires for Navada Bhakti. So though material, heart is material after all, right? And yet by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the heart becomes worthy for the manifestation of the transcendental, this pure bhakti. This bhakti is on the transcendental platform. Even the heart itself is material, So what he's trying to say, this material body, all the organs, they are becoming spiritualized once the Navada Bhakti enters in it, So that Jivan Mukta, that stage, the whole material body is becoming spiritualized. That means when the bhakti enters, this transcendental bhakti enters, when Krishna is there, the influence of Maya cannot act, all her three modes of material nature are totally ineffective. That is called spiritualized. Just as a rocky soil in a desert and not suitable for cultivation, if you want to grow a plant and the ground is not properly tilled, particularly in a rocky soil, then it cannot, right? Particularly in desert, rocky soil. So it needs to be tilled. Ground has to be softened, full of emotions, Then only you can plant a seed, and it can germinate if given the water, the life-giving water. Here is Madhurya Rasa. So just as a rocky soil in a desert, not suitable for cultivation, so the intellect, due to its speculative nature, so this rocky soil which we are talking about, the stones, is actually because of this so-called intellect, the intelligence, that we think about that just does not allow that, because intelligence is material speculation, philosophical ideas, dry philosophy. Then that acts like a rocky soil, the rocks on the soil that does not allow the seeds, the plants to take root in that kind of soil. That must be removed. So when you till the ground, you remove these rocks, you remove all kind of this kind of speculative desire, philosophical ideas and things like that, that's not suitable for that. Cannot be fertile ground. So it properly, heart must be prepared prior to planting a seed. So the heart is most receptive for the manifestation of bhakti, not the mind or intellect. Because mind is mind is philosophical thinking like that. You don't need that. You need emotion. Emotion only come in the heart. So there is always a kind of struggle between the heart and the mind, always, right? Hearts on the basis of emotions. With the mind, intelligence says, no, this is good, this is not good. This is not going to satisfy your desires and things like that, it plays a devil's role, advocate role, devil's advocate, It's very nicely explained, this one. So that is the first element, Vrida Vapre, okay? The understanding, proper understanding of this Vrida Vapre word in this Mangalacarana verse, okay? And how the Sanjivani, how the life symptoms can develop of this Navada Bhakti only when the heart is properly tilled, properly placed. All the rocky rocks are removed from that in the form of the speculative ideas and things like that, and it must have full of emotions, softness. Then the second element, important element, Swagama Arambhe Kama Tapatru Daha Damani, that means this before the Madhurya Rasa, Madhurya Kadambini, that it rains on that because the scorching heat, the heart is drying up, like that. Taptu Daha Damani. On the appearance of fresh rain clouds in the sky, before that, when the scorching heat is drying up and causing burning sensation, right, on the ground, all the living entities feel that. But just before the rain clouds gathers in the sky, there's a cool breeze blows, and that soothes the heart. Cool breezes blow even before the showers begin. These breezes relieve the scorching heat. This tapati daha damani. Daha means burning, even before the showers begin. So these breezes relieve the scorching heat of the summer season, cooling and soothing the distressed people, both externally and internally. Externally, your body feels relief, right? Internally, you feel some soothing effect. Similarly, Mahaprabhu's cloud bank of mercy relieves the threefold material miseries. As soon as the transcendental, the seed germinates, then the Maya Devi's three modes of material nature cannot act. Relieves the scorching heat of the summer season, cooling and soothing this distress. People, both externally and internally. Similarly, Mahaprabhu's mercy, a cloud bank of mercy, relieves the threefold material miseries that burn crores and tough times more. So scorching heat, we all know, we are very familiar how burning, right? But this scorching heat of this selfish desires, that really burns that ground, the heart, that you don't realize. That's millions of times much more scorching. Summer heat from the very beginning, even before showers. So cooling all living entities, both externally and internally. So his mercy drives away all the material desires from the heart on our own, that we cannot control, right? But when this Navada Bhakti begins, we start hearing the holy name of the Lord and we chant ourselves, then this selfish desire that we could not remove from ourselves, it starts beginning to dissipate. So that is the cool breeze of Navada Bhakti. For liberation, all these things, even the liberation is so insignificant. For the desire for Shri Krishna bhajana fills the heart. So bhajana and the sadhu sangha and all these things will begin now. So I hope you all understood that these two important elements. Now we'll go to the third one. Okay. So this is the left side of it. The third one is the bottom. Vishwa Pago Ullasini. Swollen. So now the rain is torrentially falling. Okay. The rivers are swelling up and both the banks are getting filled up, swollen with heavy rains. The river overflow their banks, roaring swiftly to the ocean of this Madhurya Rasa, So too, river swollen with the nectarian showers of Mahaprabhu's mercy and overflowing both banks with the bliss of roaring Nam Sankirtana. That's what it is. The prema is there, but especially Sankirtana, congregational chanting of the holy name. It creates great joy gathering among all ourselves, all the like-minded devotees, and everybody's dancing with great ecstasy. Sweep away the hearts of all living entities. So not the self, we ourselves becoming joyful, jubilant, but the surroundings. When the devotees dance, even the onlookers, they feel the relief. They feel experience that even though themselves may not be doing, simply hearing Sankirtana, congregation chanting by the devotees. Roaring Ram Sankirtana, sweep away the hearts of all living entities to the ocean of Shri Krishna. Now, throughout the world, even animal-like materialistic people, drunkards, meat eaters, and atheists are all being swept away by the roaring river of Nam Sankirtana of Mahaprabhu. Just like the river when overflows, swollen rivers flowing swiftly on the bank, all these trees and everything is flowing away, right? So here, as we all know, Prabhupada, when he brought Krishna consciousness to the West, his initial devotees those people are highly drunkard people, womenizers, and so many like that, right? Meat eaters, they gave up everything and they become devotees themselves. In fact, later on, they become spiritual masters, amazingly enough, So there is the power of this Navada Bhakti Sankirtana movement. So that Vishwapago Ullasini, the third element, now we saw the explanation by our acharyas. Now we'll see the fourth element. Then now the authors, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Dainya Bhav, that we are beginning to experience. Duran me maru shakino, he is there in distant away, where the rain is falling torrentially, but in the desert, only few drops one can get. But that few drops is more than enough, he thinks, because although he is not qualified, but even by your mercy, even a full few drops that you come by my way, I'm more than happy. I'm almost dead. The life symptoms is going to arise within me. No. Sorry about that. So let me read that quickly. May that causeless and completely independent mercy of Mahaprabhu's cloud bank of exquisitely sweet nectar, even from far off, refresh my heart that is like a dried up tree in the desert. The clouds of the rainy season come very close to the earth, profusely showering rain, but they do not shower rain in the desert, right? Rather, only from afar do they sprinkle a few drops, little water on the desert, but that is good enough. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Dainya Bhav, is considering himself as a dried up tree in the desert, far away from the cloud bank of Mahaprabhu's mercy. He is therefore praying, may the extremely powerful mercy of Mahaprabhu refresh my dry desert tree like that heart with the sweet nectar of Shri Krishna Bhakti Rasa. I hope you enjoyed that. Now the second Mangalacarana verse. Now he is appealing to Srila Rupa Goswami, who is very, very favorite and very dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's praying him because he wants to understand the rasas. In the rasa theory, he is the acharya, okay? And Akhil Rasa Murti is Krishna. So only Rupa Goswami can teach, right? So he says, Bhakti Purvai Ashrita Tam tu Rasam Pashyad Yad Attadhihi Tam Naumi Satatam Rupa Nama Priya Janam Hare. Though previous Mahajanas had taken up the path of bhakti, now, however, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's most dear associate, Srila Rupa Goswami, people who have obtained real intelligence are directly pursuing bhakti in the form of bhakti rasa. Only Rupa Goswami gives that, and we saw that. We studied that, right? In Sri Ujjwal Nilamani, Rupa Goswami's Ujjwal Nilamani, and Sri Jiva Goswami's Priti Sandarbha also we saw that. So I am offer my heartfelt obeisances unto Srila Rupa Goswami. So he's praying Rupa Goswami to please enlighten him in this rasa theory. Glories of Rupa Goswami. Shri Chaitanya Mano, so that verse we always sing, right? Right at the beginning. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamahyam. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm mixing with the different verse. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam. When will Rupa Goswami, who has established within this world the mission to fulfill the innermost desire of Mahaprabhu, personally give me shelter at his lotus feet? By composing fundamental bhakti literatures like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Ujjwal Nilamani, and by teaching them, he has established the innermost heart's desire of Mahaprabhu. He was the first one to personally receive the Lord's devotional instruction for 10 days. His definition of Uttama Bhakti, Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Dana Karmadhyana Vratam, that verse. And in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu verses, beginning with Adau Shraddha, the whole Madhurya Kadambini is an elaboration of these two verses from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This ninefold progressive stages from Shraddha to Prema, that we will go through that now, on which the entire Sri Madhurya Kadambini is based. These include the evolutionary sequence of various transformations of prema from rati. So this is from Shraddha to prema and then onwards. That is actually for very, very advanced devotees actually. Rati to sneha, sneha to mana, pranaya, raga, anuraga, bhava, mahabhava, and so on like that. We won't get into it right now. But we did go through that Shri Ujjwal Nilamani. So Shri Glories of Rupa Goswami continues. Acharyas prior to him were unable to so comprehensively analyze Bhakti Rasa Tattva, the very nature of transcendental loving mellows. That is why he is the renowned Rasacharya. The author of Madhurya Kadambini, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, concludes by explaining that the Rasa Swarupa of Bhakti can only be experienced by Srila Rupa Goswami's mercy. Without his mercy, there is no possibility of entering Bhakti. And that's why we are all Rupa Nuga, followers of Rupa Goswami. This is the highest truth. Therefore, it is no wonder why the Vaishnavas are his followers or known as the Rupa Nugas. Last but not the least, in Krishna Lila, Rupa Goswami was Rupa Manjari. Haribol. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, can you just keep that last slide once again for 1 second?
Okay. I removed it now. I have to get back.
Oh, that's okay, Prabhu. No problem, Prabhu. I'll see the PPT. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. I can read again. Let's see.
It's okay, Prabhu. No problem. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So I have to remove it. I get back again. Thank you. Haribol. Now it's open for discussion.
Just one comment, Prabhu, that
Yes.
I never thought that one verse of Mangalacarana would have so much deep meaning, and you would focus on the class. Entire class on one verse to analyze how deep is Mangalacarana. Very interesting perspective, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is by the mercy of
Prabhuji. Yeah, it was so nice, Prabhuji. Even as Prabhu is mentioning, the 4 components, the deep, as you was mentioning yesterday, we understand where we are and what is the goal, right? So you look at going to the prema and the various components. So nicely started right in the beginning, Tapta Jivan, all that, all disturbances and the mercy flows and the breeze flows and the banks of the river, flooding, gradual, how the gradual progression takes place, how the gradual transformation takes place. And at the end of, the mercy. So it is so nice, Prabhuji, Vishwanath Chakravarti, the way he is describing, we understand the glories of them, and he is a recipient, as it's a mention, that hankering he had just because he was not when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So that was only disconnect between them. So it drives us, gives us how these great devotees feel separation from the Lord, are craving for the drop. You see the desert, you gave the example in desert, just few drops of bhakti. So all that 4 Madhuryas, Leelas we are talking about, so wonderfully is putting up, Prabhuji, I think, and you are presenting so nicely. Thank you, Prabhuji. I think it makes very nice, and we understand little bit out of that. Thank you.
See, what I really liked it, that he's comparing, giving an analogy in the monsoon season when begins the first rain before Correct. It falls, the cool breezes blow, right? And dissipate the heat, right? So here, before the bhakti gets into us, before even that selfish desires we all have, and we try our best, but we could not remove it. But when we just begin to preliminary symptoms of bhakti, that means associating with the devotees, already it's going to start purifying. The purification process begins right there.
Yeah.
The cool breeze of bhakti, when we simply hear, associate with the devotees, that the selfish desires slowly getting dissipated, and our body begins to start spiritualizing it.
Yeah.
So that's
And
what I
Prabhuji,
really very much.
yeah, it was very nice. Like that is a germination, Lata beach, right? We talk about Lata, and yesterday's only the questions were there, and Sharad Prabhu's answer. Once the bhakti starts, it doesn't go anywhere. That was a really punch, like Prabhuji gave it, it doesn't go. And it says in Shastras, whatever little service you do in the Krishna, it's eternal. It comes to your next life, that next life. Whereas anything in material,
Never stops.
with the body gone, right?
The apradhas and all is in there that checks our progress, but the bhakti never is destroyed. That's one
destroys. Correct, Prabhuji. That is also good analysis. It checks it, so it doesn't go. It gives a hope, right? So first of all, you should not do that, Vaishnava Aparadh, that is a one prime. So how to be mindful as we go through that, we'll learn. And, only that by scripture, our intelligence gets purified, right? We talk about intelligence purifies us. So the mind can go here and there, but when intelligence purifies, I think we follow the path. Senses go, follow the path. Very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you.
And the dainya bhav should be there. Great
Dainya bhav
humility
should be
is there. If we call ourselves a devotee, we should always think like that. So tiny, insignificant fellow, Thank you.
And that is a bhava he is expressing in the fourth, right? He is expressing himself. How the glorification start? First glorification, and then he shows his own dainya bhav. That is how the great devotees glorify the Lord, right, Prabhuji?
Thank you.
Very nice. Nice we see that. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Satyadevata Prabhu, you have a question? Prabhuji?
No, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I sense that dainya bhav when you do your kirtan. I really enjoy with such great bhava. You sing that it comes out actually, Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna. Thank you.
Any other points?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
Oh, Hare Krishna Prasad Prabhuji.
Dandavad Pranam Prabhu.
Dandavad Pranam.
No words, Prabhu. I think this is a really nectar. Okay, the second session itself clearly says this is really nectar. Such a in-depth understanding is given, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
No words,
Yes.
Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Chaitanya
I don't have
Mahaprabhu.
any question, Prabhu. Just, I
Hare
think
Krishna.
we all need to look after Mahaprabhu. Mercy,
Yes,
Prabhu.
people
That's all.
dancing. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it is giving a clear-cut direction, Prabhu. Okay, I think it's all Krishna's plan for us to have this knowledge, so that
Yes. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
yeah, we depend on
Just the beginning.
this lotus
We are
feet.
just beginning now. You will see that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Any Matajis? I told you to start going through my slides. Then you will come up with some questions and to contribute effectively. All of you, I would like to encourage every one of you. Not just 3 or 4 handful of people, I want more Matajis coming up forward. Nitya Sakhi Mataji is there?
Yes, Prabhuji, it was really a great session, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Please, a few words, whatever you understood. Okay. बहन जी आप कुछ कहेंगे?
Interesting and very elaborated by you in very nice way. The main जो चीज है इसमें यही है कि भक्ति हम शुरू करते हैं तो then automatically भक्ति में बढ़ते जाते हैं. उसके लिए हमें जो है थोड़ा सा जैसे कि उसमें एग्जांपल दिया है कि सॉइल को हमें उसको फर्टाइल बनाने का है। हमें अपने हार्ट को प्योर, जितना प्योर हम बनाएंगे उतना ही हम इसमें जा सकते हैं। और वो प्योर हमारा कैसे बनता है? जब हम भक्ति की तरफ जाते हैं। इट मीन्स भक्ति गिव्स भक्ति,
Exactly.
gives bhakti. The main, the whole summary, it comes, I think the whole summary is like this.
बहुत
We
बहुत
should be,
शुक्रिया आपका।
thank you very much.
Okay.
Rather
Okay.
we should say thank you to you, because you are working so hard and you give very good, by giving very good examples, you teach.
Thank you, Mataji. हरि बोल बहन
Hare
जी।
Krishna, Prabhuji.
हाँ जी,
Oh, संजीव
Bye.
प्रभु जी।
Thank you, Bhai.
Good to hear from you.
Yes, Dhanwad Pranam, Prabhuji. So, from today's class, no, but from yesterday's class, I did have a question. When you were walking us through the whole initial preview, you mentioned that when we reach the stage of prema through Vaidhi Bhakti versus Radha Bhakti versus Raga Nuga Bhakti, there is some difference. Like, if you do remember and can share a bit on that, like,
Okay.
since the goal is the same, then what is the difference here?
Yeah. The main difference is that do we have a spontaneous kind of inclination towards Krishna, you know? If we don't have, then we need to cultivate. We need to begin that. And so that's why this Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti is for those who do not have nature, because we are so much materially engrossed, you know. So in order to develop and cultivate further, then we need to go through this powerful, potent process, sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. The three important elements, components of that: first, that materially contaminated, impure senses in the mind, when we engage in hearing Krishna Katha, chanting the holy name, associating with the devotees, going to the temple, and just paying our obeisances, that is the beginning of bhakti process. Then our material senses, eyes, ears, smelling the flower offered to the deities, that itself, all this purification process begins right there. So that is the important element, engaging all our senses in the mind. The second important element, following the rules and regulations of Vedic injunctions, you know, following Shastric injunctions, scriptural injunctions. There is our playbook. We need a playbook, guidebook, you know. But in order to follow that guidebook, we need a teacher, a bona fide teacher. That is Guru. We need that, you know, both Diksha Guru and Siksha Guru. So these three important elements, even if we don't have any kind of inclination, natural inclination, then we begin to develop, because process is very potent. Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya, you know, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, which is all about the sweet pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna with his devotees, you know. So that is we call Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. But those who have some seeds of natural inclination, natural affinity for hearing Krishna Katha, but fully want to develop, then for them it's the Raganuga Bhakti. Raga means attachment, some kind of inclination, some kind of affinity. When we have that, so we need to kind of provide nutrition to it, and we follow in the footsteps senior devotees, you know. So these both can go one by one or side by side. As we heard from Mano Siksha, Shri Rabindranath Das Goswami, that course was wonderful actually. That both can go simultaneously, side by side also actually, you know.
Yeah.
That is what I was trying to mention yesterday. Is that okay, Sanjay Prabhuji?
Yes, that sort of clarifies my mind.
Both Vaidhi
So
Bhakti,
the goal is the same, is the
both are
path.
the elements
Yeah.
of sadhana bhakti.
So the goal is the same, just the path is
Yes.
path depending on the practitioner is. Yes.
There
Okay.
is subtle difference. The bhava coming from Vaidhi Bhakti and the bhava coming from sadhana, from the Raga Bhakti is slightly different. But we won't get into this kind of nitty-gritty details, you know. First, to remember the basic elements.
Yes. Other than that, yes, Prabhu, wonderful class. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Radha Vinod Prabhuji, you already made a lot of comments, I'm sure. But if you want to add anything after hearing this.
No, you put it very nicely. That was the question basically arriving one with a heart, like emotions, right? Raganuga is an emotion driven, whereas the sadhana, it's there's no emotion. There's a knowledge, there is a hard work, there is a desire, but both are culminating, as you are saying. There is a subtle difference, right, Prabhuji? Yeah.
So later on, when we develop, then the emotions will develop later on, you know.
Emotion will develop, yes.
It will come particular bhava stage, the emotion, because all this is being prevented by these anarthas. We need to retire all this anartha nivritti. So when we associate with sadhu, spiritually advanced personalities, saintly personalities who come as our guru, and they engage properly in bhajana kriya. And bhajana kriya, then the real purification process begins. The Naistik bhakti has to be developed, steadiness must come there, and the steady bhakti, nishtha bhakti, then leads up to the attachment, the ruchi first, taste, and ruchi then comes to attachment, asakti, and then comes to this bhava stage, you know, later on.
Yeah.
And then
so Prabhuji, Prabhuji, so all this thing, whether it's with for the steps, right? It's a dasya or a sakya or vatsalya or a madhurya. You need a bhava there, right? All those pura rasas, these are prime rasas, right? Need a bhava there. So without bhava, dasya also got a bhava. Look at the Hanuman and Lord Ram, right? So many kathas there. Bhava is required. What you call rasa and that bhava is heart is required there, right? In there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
so the plant germinates and let it grow. So the fertilizer is keep all this devotee association is a nutrition there, you know. Keep hearing. And the sadhus allows us to keep hearing about Krishna. So constantly heart is getting purified, more and purified, all the undesirable elements getting dissipated, and then minimize all the aparadhas, you know, and then you make progress. You know. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm going to give sufficient enough time to Sharat Prabhuji. It's never enough time to hear from Sharat Prabhuji. So much nectar is flowing from his lotus mouth, you know. And so illuminating.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. The first I'll go through what Sanjeev Prabhuji was asking. Is there a difference in taste in the sadhana bhakti and in raganuga bhakti? Yes, there is a difference, as already explained. I'll explain it a little further. It is something like when you taste a mango when it is very small, it has not developed much, and later on you taste it when it is still not ripe, you taste it when it is half ripe, and when it is fully ripe. So these are the various the taste you get from the same mango. Like in sadhana bhakti and raganuga bhakti, the taste will be different. But we have to go through this. Then we were talking about a drop of bhakti when it comes in the desert of our heart. Now, this is like, as explained, it is going to flood. But you must not have any experience in seeing how it floods in a desert. I have personally seen during my service when posted in the desert for many, many years, when it rains, it may not have any effect in the plains, but in deserts, it has very severe and devastating effects. And that's why when bhakti floods the heart, which is totally dry, it gets flooded like anything, and everything gets flooded in a very short duration of time, short amount of time. So that is what is the power of bhakti, and that we should remember that even a drop of bhakti, like Rupa Goswami says, bhakti rasamrita sindhu. He is explaining only a drop of it. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he explained only a drop of it. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he writes Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. He is explaining only a drop of it. So a drop of bhakti, if it comes in our heart, it will be totally flooded, and will experience the total bliss. And then about this Madhurya Kadambini, what is it? Now this mercy is the ocean of compassion, because we know that Sachinandana Gaurahari, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is totally compassionate to each and everybody. He does not think if somebody is eligible or not, if somebody has done any sadhana or not. He does not think all about that. And this compassion has been called as the Madhurya Kadambini, and a series of these connected clouds filled with water, that is Kadambini. And when the meaning of the title Madhurya Kadambini is a row of clouds that pour the rain from the sweet nectar, and that's why the author has entitled this book as Madhurya Kadambini, and it is a very great book, and it is by the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that it has become known to the whole world that the essence of Godhead, essence of Bhagavad Dharma is founded upon Madhurya. And according to the opinion of our previous acharyas, the Aishwarya or divine majesty is the essence of Godhead. However, based on Srimad Bhagavatam, as we know, it is the fruitless essence of all the authoritative evidence given in the Vedic literature. It is the crown of jewel of all revealed scriptures. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has he has explained to us the conclusions of that Madhurya, and in fact that is the foundation of the original form of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And although the essential nature or the Swarupa of Godhead is the absolute truth, which is non-different, still Brajendra Nandana Krishna, who is hidden in a human form, when he descends onto this earth, when he appears in this earth, is directly the embodiment of the transcendental personality of Madhurya. And this is what is explained in very great detail in this book of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and also Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has described Krishna's Madhurya, the aspects of sweetness. And this sweetness, as told even today, it cannot be found in all the Lord's forms who have come into this earth. There are so many forms, so many incarnations, but this Krishna form is so different. It is full of such sweetness, Madhurya, like the Leela Madhurya, Venu Madhurya, Rupa Madhurya, and all these Madhuryas. It is very, very special, and we should study that. We should try to know what is the difference and what is the difference between Krishna and the other forms. And because in this form only, Krishna personally tested his own extraordinary Madhurya, that is in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who comes to this earth only once in a day of Brahma. And when that once takes place, like Brahma has so many days, in a day of Brahma there are 14 Chaturyugas, 14 Manvantaras, or that equals to 1000 Chaturyugas. And in that also, in the 7th Manvantara, in the 7th Manvantara, there are 71 Chaturyugas, but Krishna comes in the 28th Chaturyuga at in the Dwapar Yuga, rather toward the end of Dwapar Yuga, that is the Sandhi of Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. And after Krishna has left, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. And he had come here just 500 years back. And next time he will come many, many millions of years later. That's why we are most fortunate that we are hearing about him, the first-hand information from so many acharyas, so many close associates of the Supreme Lord. And we are very, very fortunate, and we are studying this Madhurya Kadambini. And here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the worshipable deity of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and ours, that is the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, he is explaining the unrestrained cloud bank of sweetness or great sweetness. And during, like explained today, like the monsoon season, the row of clouds which are heavy with water, they are spreading in the sky, and they are rendering the earth washed with the rainfall. And just as the row of clouds has no preference for either a highland or a lowland, like this, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, we are getting this mercy of bhakti that is flooding everybody. Even if somebody has not practiced any bhakti, or if he is practicing some kind of bhakti like all of us, they all will be benefited, and there is no doubt about it. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Sharad Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Saga Prabhuji, let's conclude the class. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble appreciation. All go to Srila Prabhupada. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Dahine, Prahlada Dahine. Hiranyakasi Purvachar, Hiranyakasi Purvachar Silatankar, Nathale Silatankar, Nathale Ito Parato Narsingha, Ito Narsingha, Parato Narsingha, Ite Yami, Ito Narsingha, Ite Yami, Ito Narsingha, Bhai Narsingha, Hriday Narsingha, Bhai Narsingha, Hriday Narsingha, Narasingha Madhin Saranam Prapade, Narasingha Madhin Saranam Prapade. Tavakala kamala bhare nakadbhuta singham dhalita hiranyakasipur tanu bringam kesavadhita narahari rupa jai jagadish hare jai jagadish hare jai jagadish hare Tavakala kamala bhare nakadbhuta singham dhalita hiranyakasipur tanu bringam kesavadhita narahari rupa jai jagadish hare jai jagadish hare jai jagadish hare नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, चारु प्रभु की जय, शरद प्रभु की जय, गुरुदेव की जय, ऑल assembled devotee की जय उस हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण चारु प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम
Thank you, Sharad Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji.
All Srimad Bhagavatam, all wish all the Vaishnavas, all the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So I wish you all wonderful week ahead. When we meet next week and again, we'll continue. Remember, next Friday we'll do Prema Vivarta. All these courses simultaneously, they are interrelated. They are talking from a very, very similar point of view, but from a different angles, different angle of vision.